Let her cook. Y'all stop being petty. Stop being catty, because she like a double-edged sword. She couldn't tell left and right. And it's bothering y'all, and I see it. Let's go.
Breaking. Caitlin Clark just dropped a bomb on the WNBA, and ESPN is losing its mind. The league's biggest superstars packed her bags and left the country, triggering panic across sports media. But why is ESPN so upset? And why is Caitlin Clark being pushed out of the very league she saved? This isn't just drama, it's war.
Let me say this. I love the point that you made about Caitlin Clark in terms of the BS that she had to deal with off the court. We got to remember she's been box office. She was the main attraction, and there were so many storylines that's been associated with her. Most recently, the whole thing with her and Cheryl Swoops, even though it really wasn't her. It was Cheryl Swoops and all this. Every time you turned around, there was something that she had to deal with.
The moment Caitlin Clark announced her overseas plans, ESPN went into full-blown panic mode. For months, they downplayed her impact, ignored the constant abuse she faced on court, and barely mentioned her record-breaking merch sales. But now that she's leaving, suddenly they're outraged.
With that news, we've already heard from Caitlin Clark that she will not be playing overseas. She won't be playing in any organized basketball organization. She actually said that she is going to become a professional golfer during this offseason.
So why did Caitlin Clark really leave? Sources say she's spending the offseason in Europe, but rumors exploded that she's negotiating contracts with European leagues. What's worse, ESPN acted like they owned her. But Caitlin's own words silenced the noise. "I'm not playing in Europe, I'm taking time off. Maybe some golf, maybe some rest."
Highlights from one game where she scored 3 goals. That's right, 3 goals in one game. And I know these highlights are far from HD 4K, so I zoomed in after each goal so you could get a closer look. Caitlin does such a good job of staying on sides here, and then the second that pass goes through, she puts on the afterburners and then hammers it home.
Let's not forget what Caitlin went through this season. 177% more flagrant fouls than any rookie. 80% of those came from just one team, Chicago Sky. Eye pokes, cheap shots, and no suspensions. Where was ESPN then?
That are owning the fact that what really was their objective and what really was their agenda is that they resented the fact that this young lady who came into the league, took it by storm, and drew in a level of attention that they weren't able to endure.
Suddenly, the same media that ignored Caitlin when she needed support is desperate to keep her from leaving. Stephen A. Smith himself called it out. They resented her because she brought more attention than they ever could.
Now, during this offseason, the players are already moving around. So a couple players have already announced that they are going overseas. We have Kelsey Mitchell going to play in China, Nalissa Smith also playing in China, and Nalissa Smith is one where there was a big question mark around her if she would be returning to the Indiana Fever, but she'll be going to play in China, and Temi Fagbenle will be playing in Turkey.
Caitlin isn't alone. Kelsey Mitchell, Nalissa Smith, and Gabby Williams are all heading to China and Turkey for better pay.
Why?
Because WNBA salaries still can't compete, and the league isn't listening.
It addresses my point. My point is, she's the golden goose. You have been clamoring for attention. You've been clamoring for more cachet, fair and equitable treatment, chartered jets, weight room facilities, dollars, marketing opportunities, etc., etc.
So, what's next for Caitlin Clark? Right now, she says she'll return next season. But with European teams offering better money and more respect, will she even want to come back?
WNBA season ending for many teams, there are already so many players heading overseas to play during the off-season. But with all of the drama currently surrounding the WNBA, on top of the low-paying salaries, some of these players are questioning if they'll even...
The truth is, Caitlin Clark carried the WNBA on her back. And instead of celebrating her, they mocked her, injured her, and ignored her. So now,
she's gone.
And ESPN is furious. But guess what? They don't get to control her story anymore.
During her exit interview, Storm player Gabby Williams warned the WNBA, if you want to keep international players, you need to do better. So here's what she had to say.
The W thinks that they don't have to pay us more in order for us to be here. And I think I didn't express that when I first talked about prioritization. You know, our commissioner talked about us being able to, make 700,000. That's not true at all. There's not one player who makes that. And we were promised, team marketing agreements and league marketing agreements, but they've fallen quite short. So it's still not enough for us international players to want to stay here. And that's a choice of the players. If I make a choice to make more money and whatever, and then teams are mad that I don't come back, but that's how it is. So yes, it just, the WNBA, if you want us to be here, you have to pay us more. It's business. It's how it works.
Caitlin Clark has officially vanished from the court. Gone from the WNBA, and ESPN is spiraling. After months of ignoring her, mocking her, and failing to protect her, sports media giants are now begging for her return. But it's too late. Caitlin Clark just walked away from American basketball and might be headed overseas. And if this happens, the WNBA may never recover.
And specifically, a lot of these casual fans who have come into watching the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark, who plays a smooth style of basketball, who shoots from really far away, who makes great passes, who handles the ball well. People are coming for a style of play that is similar to that. They are not looking for post players to be posting up on one another, drop step, one step to the basket, cheap shots, fouls, slow style of basketball. They want to see a run and gun game. And I think that is the most exciting way to watch a women's.
Caitlin Clark announced her off-season plans 200 days off, away from the WNBA, and ESPN couldn't hide its frustration.
Why now?
Because she's not going to Europe to hoop. She's not joining 3 on 3 Unrivaled.
She's just gone.
And without her, ESPN has nothing left to broadcast that draws actual numbers.
Kennedy Carter now with 12 points off the bench.
This isn't just a Caitlin Clark story, it's ESPN's failure. The network spent months dancing around her greatness, refusing to call out the dirty fouls, the on-court abuse, and the silent teammates. Now that Clark's popularity skyrocketed beyond the league, they're begging for relevance.
Caitlin Clark received 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season, and 80% of those flagrant fouls were committed by the Chicago Sky against Caitlin Clark.
Clark wasn't just attacked by opponents, she was abandoned by the system. She received almost 20% of all flagrant fouls in the WNBA this season, most of them from the same team, the Chicago Sky. And yet, no one stood up for her. No suspensions. No ejections. No outrage. Not even from ESPN.
Issue of my question is, where the fuck are her teammates at? Where y'all at? Where the rest of the Indiana Fever at? I've seen a couple girls smirk when she's got knocked down, half-assed to pick her up. Like, y'all supposed to protect the asset, protect the star. And all this is the team, she's the star. You always protect your star.
Stephen A. Smith finally said it. ESPN had one job back, the biggest rising star in women's basketball. But instead, they prioritized the narrative. They pushed the old guard story. They spotlighted drama and ignored that Clark shattered every attendance, merch, and viewership record the league had ever seen.
She struggled with physical defense she's faced at the professional level and voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what Caitlin Clark said. That is what she said, okay? But to me, it's a bigger issue going.
Now that Clark has left for Europe on a 200-day break, rumors exploded. Is she heading to Turkey, Russia, Italy? And why not? Players like Kelsey Mitchell and Alyssa Smith are already leaving the U.S. for better pay and safer play. Could Clark be next?
Well, we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings. We saw the merchandise sales. We saw the attendance. But y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this. And instead of giving her credit, y'all tried to make it about, oh, y'all poo-pooing the old.
The WNBA has a problem, and Caitlin Clark just exposed it. Players are leaving. Fans are furious. And the league's failure to treat its own stars with respect is costing them everything. Gabby Williams called it. The WNBA doesn't want to pay its stars, doesn't want to market them, and doesn't want to listen.
Since Caitlin Clark has arrived on the scene, record ratings, record revenue, everything that you could think, record attendance, everything. They've never had it before.
Should Caitlin Clark even come back to the WNBA next year? After everything disrespect, dirty fouls, silence from teammates, media betrayal, is it worth it? Some fans say she should go where she's appreciated. Because one thing is clear, if she doesn't come back, ESPN and the WNBA are in serious trouble.
You have the face of your league getting nearly 20% of all flagrant fouls called against her. That is an issue. And that's not just an issue that the players have to work out. That is from top down. That goes to the commissioner level. Like, that is the level that needs to control these kinds of.
Caitlin Clark gave the WNBA a gift. ESPN ignored it. The league abused it. And now, they're both paying the price. She doesn't owe anyone anything, not ESPN, not the league, not her critics. Wherever Caitlin Clark goes, next her fans will follow. That's what real stars do.
And those folks were very, very loud and conspicuous with their dissent towards things involving Caitlin Clark. When we pointed that out, we said why? What was the necessity for it? Because a rising tide lifts all boats.
What do you think? Should Caitlin Clark leave the WNBA for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more WNBA investigative coverage every week.
Well, that's it, you guys. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were just kicked from the WNBA playoffs, and it looks like we're not going to be seeing Caitlin Clark play basketball again for another 200 days. An ESPN reporter said at the end of the Indiana Fever Connecticut Sun Game 2 that Caitlin Clark almost definitely will not be playing basketball this offseason. So no overseas and no 3-on-3 unrivaled league. What will this mean for WNBA ratings? During Game 1 of the playoffs, the Fever had nearly 2 million viewers tuning in, while all the other games had around 400,000. Even the WNBA Countdown, which was aired before the Indiana Fever game, had more viewers than 2 of the series. With Caitlin's departure, do we think that these new WNBA fans are going to stick around for the rest of the playoffs? The Liberty Aces series might be one that draws some numbers. The disparity between 1.8 million and around 400,000 is wild, especially with football season being in full swing.
Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA has been nothing short of revolutionary, from shattering attendance records to single-handedly reviving national interest in women's basketball. But instead of celebrating her, major media outlets like ESPN are now throwing public tantrums after news surfaced that Clark may be pursuing opportunities in Europe. The irony? These are the same media giants who failed her repeatedly. While Clark endured brutal fouls, physical abuse, and constant targeting by jealous veterans on the court, ESPN largely stayed silent. They didn't demand accountability when Clark was eye-poked, body-checked, and disrespected in game after game. They didn't speak up when WNBA leadership ignored the mounting attacks or when players celebrated hurting her on national TV. Instead, they downplayed her suffering, brushed aside the escalating hostility, and treated her like just another player, rather than the historic phenom she clearly is. And now, as she reportedly takes a 200-day break in Europe, potentially signing deals overseas or launching a professional golf career, ESPN is finally waking up to what they've lost. But it's too late. Their coverage was often lukewarm, dismissive, and at times condescending. Even as Clark outperformed legends like Diana Taurasi and lifted the Indiana Fever from obscurity to playoff contention, the network failed to give her the treatment reserved for generational athletes. They ignored her cries for better officiating, never held the league accountable for the culture of resentment aimed at her, and now that she's gone, they're scrambling, trying to rewrite the story they once neglected. What makes this even more absurd is the hypocrisy. ESPN now laments her absence, yet it was their negligence, their selective silence, that fueled her exodus. Clark's rumored European deal, even if unconfirmed, has exposed just how broken the current system is. When your biggest star is beaten down publicly and receives nearly 20% of all WNBA flagrant fouls in a single season, and your response is apathy, you don't deserve her loyalty. The WNBA should have protected her. ESPN should have stood behind her. But now, as she possibly signs contracts overseas or pivots to other sports where she's truly valued, it's clear, Caitlin Clark doesn't need them. They needed her, and they blew it.